Hey everyone, due to other commitments, I'm not going to be able to put out individual hole guides for the opening and weekend round of the Breakpoint tournament. So what I put together here are some approaches that you can use on individual holes to tweak based on what wind angles you might get, right? So these are not the wind angles for the opening round or the weekend round, but they offer some general approaches that you can consider to modify based on what wind angles you do get. Obviously, if you see a wind angle that's similar to the qualifying round, you can also try to use the shots that I've already posted for those holes. But these should give you a basic framework for each of the holes, and then you can tweak them to kind of your playing style and the wind angle that you do see in the opening round and weekend round. So let's get started. I'm going to walk you through each of these holes. So here's hole number one. On hole number one, we're going to be looking at using a long iron, usually your Grizzly or your B52. You're going to start right near the middle of that bunker with your red ring. Really, it can kind of be any place. What you're looking for is for the ball guide, once you've applied the spins, to be running down the left side of that hill towards the cup. So you'll see we get we mess with the spins a little bit. We look around, but you'll get a nice trickle down off that left hill towards the cup. And once you find that spot, you're going to adjust plus 10%. Usually it's max plus 10. If you're in like a Grizzly, is always going to be max plus 10. And then this is where as the wind comes in, we're going to add a little bit of right curl because the wind is taking us the other direction. So this is an approach that you can probably replicate with most wind angles. The rough bump from the qualifying round may work as well. Here's hole number two. Hole number two is a really tough hole. So I love that anytime we can get a tailwind, I love to blast this with a Zerk and get as far down as possible, because if you end in the rough on your drive, it's really difficult to get to the green in two. So I almost would prefer just to blast it. But you can try to hit a finesse shot here with your Apocalypse. You're really just trying to cut in the middle, right down the middle. This shot will also play max plus 10. So you're going to want max top spin here and then adjust your left spins to get you right down the middle. Probably going to require a little bit of overpower and any kind of a headwind. You see a little bit of curl there because your ball is landing on a slopeward down to the right, so you need that curl to offset that and bring it back towards the middle of the fairway. So that puts us right in the middle. Our second shot here, we're going to be looking to add all left spin and then top spin to try to get this to bounce just outside the rough and up towards the hole. This hole is really difficult, and in most wind angles, you're just trying to get a birdie here just to move on. And keep in mind, with this course, with the modifier, you would rather be on the fringe than have a long putt. So you'll see this shot and the way it plays out. It's going to be actually quite perfect for this tournament. We're not gonna get an eagle here, but you'll see here we're gonna land, we're gonna bounce, roll up, and then we're gonna roll right under the edge, which makes for a very easy wedge. You can play the Endbringer rule from here, or you can just, if you're close enough and you feel comfortable, you can just do max top spin and make a very minor tweak or play it right side of the hole there. But again, a very hard hole. Anything you can do to be on the fringe versus a long putt with this modifier, you're going to want to do. It'll make it a whole lot easier for you. Hole number three, if you get a win like qualifying, you can blast with the Zerk and really shorten this hole. With this one, you can play it with a Kingmaker. If you have luminaries, obviously any par 5 is going to become easier when you can add the distance. But with this first shot, we just want to add top spin. We want to get it as close to the end of this first fairway as possible. So some similar ball guide like this with top spin. We don't want to be too far up because we don't want to be pulling into a lot of overpower. So that's why you see me bring that back to +3, add a little bit more top spin. Then we're going to adjust max +10%. And again, there's nothing special with this drive. It's just trying to get close to the edge of the fairway so that we can maximize the distance on our second shot and hopefully leave us with a makeable third shot for eagle. So that gives us a nice drive. Our second shot here, we are going to play with a -10% elevation. In this one, again, we're just looking to move up the fairway. There's nothing real special here that we can accomplish. We can't reach the green. So we want to find ourselves as far up the fairway as possible. And we obviously want to avoid going into that middle trap or the rough. That gives us an actual chance at this difficult eagle in a headwind angle. So again, we're putting those spins just to shoot up the right side of that split fairway. It's going to be max -10%. And if you happen to be at a different plus yards, you can estimate the distance of your club. It's still going to be -10% elevation to add. This is going to leave us with a short iron play to try to get the eagle. There's a couple of ways you can play it. If you get the right wind angle, you can use backspin and go directly at the pin and just try to align to the pin. If you don't get a good wind angle like that, you can also play it off the hill on the back side. So you can mess with your spins to land in a similar position a little bit further right of this and play it up the hill and let it roll down. But this shot right here with the wind coming straight back towards us, we can use those spins to align to the wind angle, and then we estimate our distance with 0 elevation. And you see we just barely missed that one, so really good look there. Hole number 4. Again, if you can replicate the shot from qualifying, fantastic. If not, this gives us another option. So we can play with the sniper, which is a great club, most accuracy there for our wood. And we want to add the spins to just have the ball guideline coming up short of the cup. We don't want to have too much backspin because rolling back down that green, if you don't roll all the way down, it's going to make for a really difficult putt with the modifier. So we want to make sure we end up top, either close to the hole or even rolling off the back onto the fringe. Again, being on the fringe is not a bad thing in this tournament. It gives a real easy chip in. Elevation here is +10%. Moving on to hole number 5. If you get a tailwind angle, you can try to blast this one with a bunch of topspin with like a hook shot to try to jump over the water. We don't have that in this case, so I'm going to give you an opportunity here to still get close and try to get an eagle. So we're going to put the top spins there just to get over the bunker. We're going to adjust max +10% here. And again, you don't want to overdo it with the top spin, and we don't want to overdo it with the overpower here on this shot, or you can actually roll too far down the fairway, which makes the second shot more difficult. So we're going to adjust max +10%. Excuse me. Just a little bit of overpower, and you're going to see this one roll out nicely into the fairway. Our second shot, we're going to estimate the distance of our club, and then we're going to use backspins here to get the ball guide just to trickle right down to the cup. So we can play straight at it or we can play off that side of that right hill will also trickle down. This one I'm playing right at it here with a 10.9 wind coming from behind us. We want to leave that ball guideline coming up about 1 or 1.5 squares short. We're going to estimate the distance of our club and 0% elevation. In any of these holes where if you have a bunch of Kingslayers, you want to use to have less wind, by all means, you're welcome to do so. I try to put out options here for primarily Kingmakers, but keep that in mind. If you have Kingslayers, go ahead and use them. Hole number 6, another long par 5. I'm glad I'm getting a lot of headwind angles here in practice, because you're probably going to see some of those in opening round and weekend round. So this one definitely requires a luminary if you have it. You could try to use a Kingmaker, but you're oftentimes going to clip that rough trying to bounce over. So having a luminary here, this is really starting at max Kingmaker distance already, and then adjusting max plus 20% on the drive. The second shot, we have a couple of options depending on how far the drive goes. If you can get your club close enough, you can try to bounce over the sand trap like we did in qualifying round. If not, you can play up the right side. And again, with a long par 5 in a headwind, you're not really trying to get an albatross. You're trying to get an eagle. So if we can put this shot up near the green, either green side or even on the fringe, it's going to leave us with a really easy wedge. And on a hole like this, you just want to be able to get your eagle and move on to the next hole. So don't be afraid to just play up to the right side of the green here and leave yourself an easy end bringer shot just to get your eagle and move on to the next hole. From here, once they get to this distance of a wedge, unless you have a lot of topspin and feel really confident, you can just use the end bringer school method and just stretch out your club. This one will play end bringer school plus 20%. So just figure out that estimated distance there, add it into your slider, and that's the beauty of the end bringer method. Makes it really easy to drop these chips. All right, let's move on to hole number 7. Hole number 7 is a definite eagle opportunity in any wind angle. So because we have a headwind angle here, I'm choosing to use the luminary. If you have a crosswind or a tailwind, you can definitely use a Kingmaker. You could even try using a Titan or a Katana as well. But with the headwind, if we really want to try to get an eagle here, we need to use the luminary to get to that second fairway, which leaves us the eagle opportunity. So this first shot's going to play max plus 10%. We got to watch the topspin here. We don't want to put too much topspin on this shot, because you'll bounce over and you'll roll. You can roll straight through into that rough. So you want to be very careful about how much topspin you're adding to this shot, especially if you have a tailwind. So that rolls out nicely for us. And again, with a headwind, we'll play our second shot here with the sniper. If you have a crosswind or a tailwind, that could end up being a grizzly or a B-52, just depending on where you're at. There is a little bit of a funnel on the screen, so what we're going to do is look to add in our spins. Usually a couple, you're going to use the 2 right spins all the time, and then a couple of back spins, or sometimes 1 back spin. and you just want to put it right there on the cup with the ball guide. If you're a little bit further back, you'll be able to see the fun a little bit easier. The second shot plays 0% elevation, and you're estimating the distance of your club. We don't get the drop here, but again, just an approach that you can use. That headwind made this one real tricky. We probably should have had less backspin, or maybe even a little topspin. All right, moving on to this par 3, hole number 8. So if you get a wind angle like qualifying, by all means try that rough bump. It had fairly good success. If you get a different wind, I wanted to show you guys this shot. So you can use your Guardian and start it right on the edge of the green, and it'll allow you to get the backspin to come off that hill on the right, and then trickle down towards the green. It's not a high percentage shot from a drop perspective, but you will get close to the green if you can set up with that. Your elevation on this shot is going to be 10%, max plus 10% for the Guardian there. Obviously, you can use a Kingslayer, a Centurion, anything to knock that wind down, because on a hole like this, less wind is always going to be better. All right, our last hole, hole 9. Again, love that we got a headwind, because you might get this, and so I want you to know how to play it. With a headwind, we can't cut that corner to the right. So if you get a different wind, you can play with like 6 topspin and 1 or 2 right spin to the right side and curl around that little dogleg right. In this instance, we're going to start at max distance of a P3 ball, but we're using a luminary. We're going to drive the ball as far up this fairway as we possibly can. And then we're going to apply some overpower, because even with all that topspin, that headwind is going to knock it down. So we want to get the ball as far up this fairway as we possibly can. Again, a really difficult hole. We can't reach that little patch to do the bounce over shot. So we can try to topspin this over and onto the green, but I also wanted to show you this option because if you're just trying to get a safe eagle, you can play it right up there next to the green. Actually add some topspin here to clip the rough intentionally and then roll out. So this second shot is going to play minus 10% elevation. And you're going to see this is going to first bounce, clip the rough, and then roll out onto the fairway for us for an end-bringer shot. Now, what you'll notice here, I left this shot in so you could see it, because it's important to understand your landing position. So this seems like a pretty straightforward, 50% end-bringer. I played it plus 20%. What I didn't account for is the fact that when I rolled out, I'm on a little bit of a hill. So be mindful of where your actual elevation is. See, look, right from that view, you can tell I'm a little bit elevated, and I should have played it plus 25%. And because I didn't, you're going to see this one misses left edge. So make sure you're counting on the different elevations that you might run into. So I did go ahead and attempt this for you guys with the Kingmaker, and we got a 12.3 wind. So that's a really high wind. So I just thought I'd show you what it would take to make this happen. So we're at max club right there, and you see where the ball guideline is pointed. That's key here if you're going to try to get this thing to roll out in the fairway. So that's our starting point. We're gonna back it down, because if we start at max, we can't actually adjust the full max plus 10%, because we'll run out of room and overpower. So we back it down there. You see the aiming point. We're going to go max plus 10, and then you're going to see full overpower, and you'll want to take a look at the curl on this shot, because if you mess up the curl, then you'll definitely end up in that right side bunker. A lot of risk here with this shot. If you great left, you can end in that bunker. Great right, you can end in the other bunker. So I recommend the luminary play if you have them, but I wanted to show you guys an option if you don't have luminaries. So here we are with the Kingmaker. Now we can reach this pad, even if we're stretching into overpower. We're just going to apply some backspins. The result of the shot isn't going to be where we want it, so you'll want to take in mind that crosswind is pretty strong. So we want to add some left spin and actually offset the ball guide to the left side of the hole if you play this shot. You're going to see I also great righted it, so that doesn't help, and we're going to end up bouncing safely over. Obviously no danger, but nowhere close to the cup. Still a makeable putt though. All right, well, there's the course for you guys. I hope you find those approaches helpful as you tackle the opening round and the weekend round. If I am able to play and find some drops or some good shots, I will definitely post those. But I just wanted to make sure you guys had something that you could work with to give you an advantage in the opening round and the weekend round. Best of luck, and I can't wait to see how you guys did.